Untie the ribbons. My body wants to gasp, I try not to panic. My mouth is stuffed with the satin ribbons I know fill it. My hands are tied down my feet. At horrifically predictable intervals, freezing water drip, drip, drips against my throbbing forehead, each drop heavier than the last, colder. Louder. I wonder how long it might take for these miniature stabs to drive a person demented, because it's imperative I stay calm. There's a way out of this cave, besides death. I'm waiting for the only person who can help me to find it. And Bets, by the way. It's not my time to die. It'd have been daft agreeing to meet him, I'll admit that now, especially somewhere so desolate. But I'm a hopeless romantic, and I'd always loved the Dales and the viaduct at Ribblehead. I'd arrived in fog, only moments before the heavens had opened and the rain had come thundering down by the skip load. The barely visible viaduct had given the impression of a ghost, the solitary train stop, a ghost town. Appropriate, you might say, after all it had been a ghost I'd come to see, or haunting. He'd arrived late, knocking so loudly on the steamy windows of my clapped-out Ford I practically leapt out my skin. He'd laughed. As he did, any anxiety I'd felt regarding our meet had dissolved in an instant. I should have known better. Psychopaths are renowned for their charm. I'm a police officer. We're trained to be cautious. I should have behaved better. I'd said I was coming in the name of research, but he knew it wasn't true. Biography or no biography, it wasn't the ghostly memories of his victims I'd come to reawaken. It was him, fresh out of prison. I'd hoped to bring him back to life. And for his part, he brought me a gift. Ribbons. It had seemed almost comical at the time, him over 6 feet tall, stooped as he crouched against the rain to clamber into the passenger seat, bulky from working out. That aspect of prison life had suited him. To me the rest did too, strangely. The 6-inch scar across his left cheek, the tattoo down the side of his neck. But then, ribbons. You remembered. I giggled like a schoolgirl and he'd shrugged. Of course I did. Here, I'd said, swap you. I'd held out my hip flask, watched him take one glug, then another. His trousers were an inch too short. Cheap. And he no socks. When I'd opened a box of ribbons, they'd been cheap too, more Leeds Market than Harvey Nicks. Still, he'd remembered. And when he'd turned to look at me, eyes toffee brown, impenetrable, I remember it crossing my mind that I'd no need of the contents of the hip flask to keep me warm. Every fibre of my body was on fire. They're perfect, I'd said, as he lifted a hand to caress my mouth, forcing me to stifle a moan. We'd written to each other, what, 100, 200 times? And now those fingers that had held the pen that had written the words, his fingers. Each day comes bearing its own gifts, he'd whispered. So, I'd replied, untie the ribbons, my favourite quote, he'd remembered. And then, we'd kissed. I remember that through the fuzzy warm stench of fresh whiskey and hot breath I'd smiled in anticipation of what might come next, and for those few blissful moments, before he thrashed my head against the steering wheel, I'd been lost in a world where ribbons were smooth and full of rainbows. The smoothness of the ribbons that bind me now is suffocatingly so, moisture sapping against my tongue. They smell of mothballs. I want to cough, but I can't. I'm parched. The rest of me is soaked to the skin and I'm shivering. In haphazard split seconds, I imagine all the drips on the roof of the cave falling only onto my tongue. They don't. And each time the disappointment is unbearable. And I want to cry, but if I did, I would drown in my own snot. I smell smoke. Bets. He's back. Puffing a cigarette into my face. I shoot to attention, time to focus. Slowly, he unwraps my mouth, unstuffs it. Greedily, I lap at the water he pours on my tongue. He's expecting me to cry out, to scream, to whimper. That was always his favourite bit. When his victims were most vulnerable. That was when he liked to get heavy. I know this, but he doesn't know that I know. I've studied him intricately, everything that's ever been recorded, so I don't cry out. Instead, as he unbinds my eyes, I say, hey, good to see you again. Then lick his fingers. He laughs. I've caught him by surprise. That's good. Want to play some more? I ask. But he's already flicking his cigarette to the damp earthen floor. Untie the ribbons, I silently pray. Untie the ribbons. And foolishly, he does. Inside my head, my thumping heart deafens me, and I've just enough time to reach inside my pocket. The pounding doesn't lessen when my fingers wrap around the form of something smooth and familiar, and I say, hey. He looks up, and that's all it takes. That plus the 1 split second I need to squirt the pepper spray directly into his eyes. It's a funny thing wanting to join the police force. People think it's because we like to put bad folk away, but that's not always the case. Sometimes it's because we like to keep them close, get to know everything we can about them, their strengths, their weaknesses. It can become an obsession. I didn't want things to work out the way they did. It took me a long time to come to terms with how a relationship was going to have to be, and I still get headaches from where I was hit. But besides that, I'm good. And I visit him every day in his new prison. I like the fact he's got socks, trousers that fit. I only wish he didn't complain so much about the cave, about the drips, the drip, drip, drips. Untie the ribbons, pets, he often begs. Untie the ribbons.